So moving on to our next segment, we'd like to know from you, Praneeth, how was your transition like when you were transitioning into a lead pen tester? So you also got exposure to many private bounty programs. So what are your thoughts
Mhm.
on private bounty programs, and what are your, tips for the researchers to get such invitations and lead that path? So can you elaborate on your journey?
Yeah, definitely. So for any bug bounty hunter, who has joined this podcast, they know that private programs are really crucial, and it is mostly uh, easier to find bugs on private programs compared to the public ones. So for private programs on HackerOne, at least your signal and reputation is something that matters. So for platforms like HackerOne, Bugcrowd, I would recommend that you at least have some bugs, reported, even if it is VDP, but at least keep the streak going on for all the bugs that you're reporting. This way, your signal would improve and you'll get a lot of private invites. And once you get the private invites, also carefully choose the programs. So, for example, if I get a private invite into a company which also has a public program, I'll do one thing. I'll go to their public program and just read their public program. What is the bounty they're paying and what is the response? So, more than bounty response is really important. If I see that the response percentage is pretty low, I can see that this company won't be responsive for the private invite as well. So I'll choose the programs accordingly.
Definitely. So, next, Praneeth, you also joined as a offensive security engineer and worked at firms like Apple, Amazon, and partly with the AWS as well. So,
Mhm.
how was your transition like from bug bounty researcher and lead pen tester in the as a part-time career to a
Mhm.
full-time offensive security engineer? And what
Mhm.
how is it inspired from your role as a software developer earlier when you started your
Mhm.
career? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a really great question. So I think your knowledge essentially compounds over the years, and it is one of the best compounding one can experience. So when I started with my STE mindset, I was more focused on creating some static websites. Then I moved to dynamic websites, learned different platforms like Node.js, and then I also learned NoSQL. And when I went into hacking, uh, my initial idea was how a particular web app has been designed. So if I see there is PHP, automatically I can see, okay, is a Laravel framework used? What type of database has been utilized by the application? And on the DevOps side, I would think that, hey, if they're using AWS, are they using CloudFront? And I'll
Mm-hmm.
just have the list of frameworks in my mind, even when I'm starting to hack the application. So
Mm-hmm.
since I had a little bit experience on the development, it really helped, and it was just the tip of the iceberg. And later on, throughout my career, I explored different domains as I've previously mentioned, and it really helped me in the current roles. So from product security to even the vulnerability management and remediation, also threat intel, and
Mm-hmm.
currently with OffSec. So I would suggest that if you want to explore more, try to take on roles that are pretty challenging and in parallel with your current role. So that is what helped me.
Awesome. So it's not many people are, afraid that what path they can follow after being a bug bounty researcher, and they don't know
Mhm.
whether they will land in a good, full-time career or not. So this
Mhm.
is, I think, something like where your entire experience in different verticals helped in getting you in this role as well and
Mhm.
succeeding in this role, right? So that's definitely a great combination of knowledge you have, and especially like when working at Amazon, I myself have the experience of working at Amazon previously. So from my experience, I can definitely know the intricacies of 360 degree of product security which is involved, right? So can you also elaborate on that part, like when you while you are handling challenging problems at Amazon?
Mm-hmm.
or even previously you did at Apple. So, what were the most impactful and what were the most interesting challenges you solved there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so firstly, even from your experience, I can know that whenever you're joining a big company as opposed to a smaller organization, your first 1 month or 2 months is super hectic since you have to learn so much about the technologies, and it is really overwhelming even if you have experience. So
Mm-hmm.
even if you join Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, or any large corporation, you have to first understand that tech stack. What type of technologies are they using? What type of internal tools they are using? Of course, we can't discuss openly about the internal tools, but for every company, the approach would be same that, hey, you first learn about their tech stack and then you try to identify the security gaps. And even for security, there are a lot of tooling that are internally already been done. How can you improvise on that? So for somebody who has been into bug bounty, you first learn pen testing, and after that you can transition into security engineering mentality, wherein you don't just go out and try to find bugs. So technically, you can just join an organization and try to find 0 day, and you can create some impact from it. And
Mm-hmm.
I've also reported a lot of bugs internally to different teams. But the major impact would be to identify a process which can be upgraded and creating a solution out of it. So as a security engineer, you don't have to necessarily be good at coding, but if you can just automate some stuff and with the help of SDs or with the help of your team members, you can create a solution, especially a security product that can be used by other teams. That would be a game changer for the role.
Awesome. So basically, you are saying how we can bring more enhancement to the security process, security tooling, automation, and existing security process itself. How we can make it more enhanced version of what exists today. And also, like definitely automation comes into picture for that. Uh, you also said that you reported few bugs internally. So did you get any bounties for that? Just a side question.
No, for internal tools, you don't necessarily get some bounties, but of course, it helps you, excel in your current role. But for that, you won't get any bounties.
That's the
And also, you can't.
job responsibilities.
Yeah, exactly. Also, you can't participate in any of the public bug bounty programs. You are on the receiving end, wherein you're receiving some bugs for, the different
Hmm.
programs that are open.
Great. So, what are the tips like any people, any students who are looking for, jobs at Amazon or such big companies,
Mhm.
or maybe any full-time role as an offensive security engineer, not necessarily a bug
Mhm.
bounty researcher, but from a general, skill set point of view, what are the things you
Mhm.
think are necessary in operating, in succeeding in the day-to-day responsibilities as an offensive security engineer?
Okay, so for somebody who wants to join similar roles, I would say there are two categories of skill set required. One would be strictly technical, and second would be managerial or just some marketing type of stuff, like having your resume up to date or creating some good projects. So these would help you elevate your profile compared to rest of the candidates. So if you have worked on different technologies or you have created some automation, if you are putting your blogs and research out there, if you're just keeping it within your university or college, it won't be helpful. So this part would only be for someone who is not pushing their content out. So if you just push it on LinkedIn, GitHub, Twitter, anywhere, that would be a game changer for you. And on the technical side, I would suggest that first define the role that you want, and secondly, define the role that you aspire for in future. Let's say 3 years, 5 years down the line. So, for example, if somebody who already has experience as a bug bounty hunter, they are well versed with OAups or web app or even with network. So I would recommend that they can get a role into pen testing first. And if they have some coding skills, they might also try for security engineering roles. And for somebody who is not into OffSec, they can who are looking into defensive type of roles. First, you can define the role that you want. Do you want to be a SOC analyst, or do you want to be a threat intel, or do you want to explore any other roles? So if you don't define that early on in your career, you won't have the clarity. So maybe you are somebody who is strictly into defensive roles. Later on in career, you can eventually switch to OffSec. But having your current skill set evaluated and thinking from future point of view would be super helpful. So in my case, I started as a pen tester and bug bounty hunter, but I always had some aspirations for security engineering roles since I had some development experience. And
Mhm.
over the years, I just made that my skill set should be aligned with those roles in future.
Great. And as you mentioned about the development experience,
Mhm,
what are your thoughts on, the bare minimum uh, skill set in terms of development which
mhm,
the security engineers should have in order to,
mhm.
be successful in the role?
Yeah, yeah. I think for pen testing, there is no necessary requirement for coding. You can just find a easy bug or any sorts of simplistic bug just with burp suit. You don't require any sort of coding experience. But for seconds rules, I think coding is pretty important. And one part of it is that hey, if I want to automate something, I can leverage LLMs and create my own project, and that can be done for your personal projects. But for if you're working for some organization, you should always look for the policies that is any LLM restricted, and
Mm-hmm.
you can leverage the LLMs that are officially allowed in your organizations. And even if you use LLM, I would recommend that you first learn about the development life cycle. So, what are the different packages that are used in the team or in the project that you're working on? Is it a Maven package? What are the different dependencies that your current project is using? Are you using any package or like npm package or any pip packages? Are those packages hosted in your internal repository or an external repository? So once you get a overall idea of the development lifecycle, it would really compound all your skills. But if you
Mm-hmm.
just use it as a scripter from a scripter's point of view, you would be pretty limited in your role.
So kind of you are following the purple teaming model as well, like looking
Yeah.
from both the angles, defensive and the offensive part. And actually, that's good, and that's a plus skill you have, which distinguishes you from the normal security engineer, because that is giving the 360 overview and how we are driving the feedback in the secure development lifecycle. So I think that's
Yeah.
a great skill to have, and everyone, like as a security engineer, we should eventually target for that while learning about different verticals, how we can combine them to make them kind of a collaborative approach and maintaining the security standards higher for the organization we are working for. So, awesome. And you, like in the last sentence, you had been talking a lot about LLMs as well. So, since you mentioned that
Mhm.
it is the latest interest you are developing in, so what
Yeah.
are the things you are like you are currently caught in terms of LLM and using it in security?
So there are two aspects to this. One is securing the LLMs, and second would be using LLMs for security. So
Mm-hmm.
the first part is pretty clear. Like you can go through OAuth top 10 of LLM security, read about different attacks like poisoning LLM data or prompt engineering or jailbreaking. You can learn about different attacks,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm mostly focusing on the later part, which is using LLMs for security. So if you use LLMs and you can automate a lot of cool stuff. For example, if one cool project that I'm currently working is, if you have output from 10 different tools and you are using your manual recon process and trying to identify different outputs from the tool, it becomes really difficult if the output is different, or you have to write your own regex to just filter out the possible data. But if you want to bypass everything, you can just use LLM like GPT. You can use your own GPT key, and through a simple script, you can ask LLM to analyze the output from different tools,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can just view it from a human readable point of view. So
Mm-hmm.
LLM can easily summarize a lot of content. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, how we can use generative AI in automating the security processes and making it more faster and efficient. I think that's a direction we can target, right?
Yeah, definitely. I can't speak of other projects that I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing due to confidentiality issues, but yeah, whatever you can find on the internet, you can use Claude, you can use
Mm-hmm.
GPT model. It depends on your preference. But once you learn how to deploy your own LLM and how you can train it, you'll get a pretty good idea how you can leverage it for all the security operations. So in your current role or even for your current bug bounty workflow, you can just try to imagine a LLM aspect for
Mm-hmm.
any of the steps, and you can get started with it.
Awesome. These are very cool things which you have, elaborated in today's discussion. And I think the last thing I have for you is you mentioned about your experience in blockchain security as well, a little bit.
Mhm.
So do you want
Mhm.
to just share some insights on the emerging technology
Mhm.
and security aspect for same?
Yeah, definitely. So for blockchain, I initially started learning about blockchain because I was investing into blockchain from 2020, and at that time I learned about Ethereum smart contracts, and there are a lot of CTFs, and there are platforms which I was using like Immunify.
Mm-hmm.
And while learning blockchain, I identified that if you learn about smart contracts, you can exploit them locally, and you can practice about different vulnerabilities. So if you consider Solidity, one can always learn about different programming languages like Solidity or Rust, which is for Solana blockchain. And yeah, it is just an added skill set. So tomorrow, if I want to transition into any different rules, I just have a basic understanding of blockchain security. So there are again a lot of different aspects to blockchain security. I've just touched the basics of the smart contract auditing world. There are other SOC aspect of it wherein you can write your own tools to analyze different blockchains, or you can also write your own APIs on top of Etherscan or any other scanners and identify different patterns. And mostly from threat intel point of view, I've worked on some scripts in which using photobots I can create a workflow to identify different drug pools. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, if I see a smart contract which is having, let's say, 10 addresses, and the 10 addresses are hosting majority of the cryptocurrency for the market cap. So I can just create an automated code which would essentially enumerate the different addresses and try to list down the wallet addresses. So this way I can identify rug pull, and if I add sentimental analysis and go through social media and do analysis of their social media and website, I can identify that hey, this particular cryptocurrency is definitely a scam, and so on.
Nice. Using it for the cool things and
Yeah.
also being up to date about the investment market in blockchain and crypto. This will definitely help
Yeah.
in, the technology we know, and based on the security aspects, we can also determine like what is the success ratio for that particular maybe altcoin or any main coins. So that's a great experience you have shared overall, and it had been wonderful knowing about your career, knowing about the intrinsic details of your different roles in different firms. And over the last 7 to 8 years, you have explored so many companies as well as so many verticals in cybersecurity. So this totally shows your interest in learning more and more. And definitely, thanks for sharing your knowledge today with us. And I hope our audience also got to learn a lot from you. And the key takeaways which I got from today's conversation, I'll just recap it for the audience as well. So, primarily, we talked about your overall experience in cybersecurity, over the 7 to 8 years, you had been part of the development as well as bug bounty research, then pen tester as well. You learned about blockchain security. You are part of now offensive security team at Amazon, and you have explored many verticals, including AI, how we can have the automated ways of enhancing the process. So this is the overall journey of Praneeth, and we talked about the bug bounty tips for the students, how we can get good part-time as well as full-time career out of bug bounty research, and how we can transition it to explore more and more roles in the cybersecurity world. So I think this was great conversation we had with RootSploit, one of the leading bug bounty researchers. And I hope you also enjoyed having this discussion with us today. So this wraps up our current session for Beyond the Buzz Cybersecurity podcast. Thank you so much for coming, Praneeth, and it was a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Swati. I really enjoyed our conversation. And yeah, it was definitely, nice talking to you. And hopefully I would, add more inputs to for the audience who are, tuning to our podcast. And it is, really helpful for them as well.